Hi, everybody. Welcome into today's show here on JTV. David Rice, our show today brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency, myinsuranccircle.com, located in both Jackson and Battle Creek. I'm David. That's Adam. Another great weekend of football.
Lots of good games. Lots of good games.
There was. We had a good high school game for us Friday to kick it off.
Yep.
Other than Michigan, there were good college games. Other than the Wolverines.
Right.
I don't even want to talk about them.
I didn't even watch. I knew what was going to happen.
Good. Sunday, the Packers won on a field goal, and the Lions won on a field goal. So both won late. Both of those games were great. I was flipping back and forth at the end. And the Sunday night game actually was very different than what I thought coming in. So we'll get to that as well. And it's been interesting the last week or two, the Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, who's going to play quarterback. Because at first, before the game, I was like, it ain't broke right now. Don't fix it. They're 4-2. They're playing good with Justin Fields. But then Russell Wilson comes in and they score almost 40, something the Steelers don't do, and they win, and they beat the Jets now with Davante Adams. So I was really surprised by that game. That was my main takeaway from Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't really watch too much of that game. I watched just a little bit of it just so I could see Davante Adams. I really didn't see much of him.
He had 3 catches for 30 yards.
Okay, so he did. He
had
something.
no catches in the second half.
Oh my god! Yeah, I think I watched a bit of the second half, so maybe that's why I didn't see him.
He played the Steelers in his last week as a Raider.
Oh, that's weird.
And then he had to play the Steelers again with the Jets.
That is so funny. That has to be one of the first times that's ever happened.
Gotta be. But we had a busy week of high school football, week 8. So let's get started. Hanover Horton officially earned their place in the Cascades Championship over Columbia Central, 28-19. They earned the Cascades West title. If Columbia would have won, this was actually a lot closer of a game than I thought it was going to be, 28-19. If Columbia would have won, they would have played Leslie in the conference championship. But now Columbia's pretty much out of any playoff hopes, and Hanover is 8-0. 28-19. Freshman Austin Hochter, only 8 carries, and he had 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. How does that happen on only 8 carries?
That's so
You
crazy.
have to average, I'm not good at math, so I'm not even going to try to do math here, but you have to average 20 to 30 yards a carry almost to be able to do that. But Hanover will host the championship game for the Cascades this coming Saturday, kickoff at noon. Against Leslie. Columbia will host Napoleon in a rematch from earlier this year in the crossover game. I'm interested in that game, although I already had my pick and I already know what's going to happen in that game. But Columbia is not a horrible team, so this could be a decent game. Obviously, they only lost to Hanover by 9. Because remember coming in when we were doing our picks, I thought it was going to be a lot more larger of a win. It was only by 9.
Yeah, that's not. Man, that is so crazy.
I know. Napoleon is now 5-3. Speaking of them, 54-0 over EJ. The Pirates rushed for 420 yards total as a team. They had 500 almost the week before that against Michigan Center, and now 420 against East Jackson. Xavier Skog continues his unbelievable season for Napoleon. He had 221 yards, 4 scores for Napoleon, 54-0 over EJ. EJ will have a rematch with Vandercook this week in the crossover, and Napoleon, of course, rematch with Columbia. They're pretty much already in the playoffs, but just to pretty much secure it, for extra safety, got to beat Columbia this week. So great win for Napoleon. And the game we were at, you saw live on JTV, 37-20, Lumen Christi over Gaylord. Now, coming in, we were doing our picks. I think a message, at least in our building here, was, oh, this is going to be a running clock. Gaylord's 2-5, blah, 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 blah. No, it was a 1-point game at halftime.
Close.
And all of us up there, when we were set up, we were like, we can't believe this. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was after the first half. Lucas just turned to me and he's just like, "This is a game." And I was just
Right.
like, oh my gosh. Yeah, It was a fun game though. It was like nice back and forth.
It was. Pat was just complaining the whole time about how cold it is.
Oh,
I was fine, even though I was not feeling well. I'm still not now,
Yeah.
but it was fine. It was actually really not that cold. Josh was fine. Even I was fine, and I look over at Pat and he's doing
that's
that
so
the
funny.
whole time.
I was pretty cold, but I'm also holding a metal tripod in my hands, so my hands were cold.
Right.
But that was it.
Cadale Williams, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns. Isaac Rayberg, the fullback, 67 yards, 3 touchdowns. Lumen will travel to Ford Field this week, Saturday at 1:30 against Kalamazoo United. And they will be back at Ford Field when they make the state championship later this year.
He's calling it.
I'm already calling it now. Well, Gaylord coming in was 2-5, but their Division III school, even though there aren't really that many huge schools way up there in that part of the state, but their Division III, which means they play other huge schools and their conference opponents, they just have a tough schedule in the teams that they've played. So that's why they started 2-5. And also, they threw, I forget what the stat was that they shared with us from Gaylord, but something to do with more picks than touchdowns or something. Like they really started out the year struggling, turned it around. But if I'm Gaylord, I know they lost, so they're 2-6 now, but I get to feel pretty good, though, still, if I'm Gaylord, because that's a team that's going to win again this year and have a three-peat, and you hung in there with them only down by 1 at halftime and only down by 1 possession at the end of the third.
I have a question for you. Just something interesting. So, do you think this game and Michigan Center, I think, are a little bit similar? I mean, I think they played Gaylord closer at the end. I think they ran away from Michigan Center, I think, towards the end.
Right.
But do you think that's more of Lumen Christi not playing as well, or do you think the other teams were just hanging in there and just figured them out somehow?
Well, Lumen, one of their things that they're known for is their second half adjustments. Like, and Max asked Coach Brogan about that in the post-game interview was, you're known for your second half adjustments. What'd you tell your guys? Coach Brogan said, we just played like you-know-what, pretty much. We did not execute. We were not playing well. We were not playing Lumen football. And, they came out, turned it around, and won by 3 possessions.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's a mix of both because they really didn't start out the game well. They had some penalties. Remember, one of Gaylord's scores in the first half, Lumen was going to clearly force them a 3-and-out, but they had a 12-man and an illegal substitution penalty.
Yeah.
I know. And Gaylord ended up scoring. They kept the ball and ended up scoring after that. So I think it was a mix of Gaylord, hanging in there and Lumen not playing well. And it was a mix between everything, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Coach, of course, is going to say something like that, of course. But I think that is true. Both of those games are similar, just that they started off very slow. And I hope that doesn't happen in, the state championship game, because that's a problem. And I feel like almost like
when you play Almont or Menominee again,
right.
You can't
have that slow start.
Right. But you can watch full game highlights and photos on our website at jtv.tv. Lumen will go to Ford Field. One of 2 trips, calling it now. They'll play Kalamazoo United at 1:30. That gives me flashing back to the very first football game I ever called for JTV was Lumen playing Kalamazoo United at Kalamazoo College.
At Kalamazoo College?
Yep,
Is that where
right across
really?
from Western.
Oh,
Is it
okay.
Western in Kalamazoo? I think
So when would this have been?
the summer, well slash fall, I guess, of 2019, that football season before COVID.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
So, the start of that COVID school year, I guess. Um, Grass Lake. This was the biggest shock. They needed to win the last 3 games to get in. 2 out of those 3 are now done. Leslie 7, Grass Lake 28. Braden Lape 4 touchdowns. He threw for 2, ran for 2, threw for 290 yards. Leslie quarterback Joel Cranmore 159 yards. Leslie, of course, goes to Hanover and Grass Lake. I'm just going to give my pick for the game now this week. Grass Lake may have gotten the easiest draw out of any of those opponents by getting Addison, because Addison has struggled and Grass Lake has been on fire. So this couldn't have made anything more perfect for Grass Lake to win and get in this week. But that's a huge win for Grass Lake. And I know this game didn't really mean anything for Leslie. But, you still want to go undefeated going up into a big game next week. Still a big win for Grass Lake regardless, not taking anything away from them.
Yeah, that really stinks. I really wanted to take Grass Lake last week, but I just thought Leslie has looked so good, so I just thought it wasn't going to happen. But Grass Lake was able to hang in there, and boy, did they ever! I mean, that's crazy. 28-7.
I had a couple people call me this weekend because I picked Manchester over Grass Lake, and then I picked Leslie over Grass Lake.
Fake fan. This is crazy.
Yeah, they said some things to me. Repeat, but I did get some calls. I apologize. Go Warriors. They will beat Addison and get in the playoffs.
There you go.
You don't even know Addison struggled. They're 4-4. They're still in the playoffs right now.
I remember you brought that up last week. I can't believe that.
J High's still in the playoffs too, even though they're 4-4.
I didn't know they were still in the playoffs.
They're still in. We will get to the playoff picture here in a couple minutes once we're done recapping all of these games. Grass Lake won. Onstead over Hillsdale. Jackson, big loss to Marine City. Unfortunately expected because of Marine City's number 7 in Division 6. Marine City's been great this season. And Jackson actually plays Hazlitt this week. Hazlitt beat Western this last week. So if that's any sign for how this game is going to go this week.
But theoretically, is this if they win, they get in kind of situation, or?
Yeah, Jackson still needs to win to get in.
But that is a guarantee if they win.
They are.
It's not like somebody else has to lose here. Or something.
Yeah, Jackson I think is still 28th or 29th. So if they win, they'll.
Okay, cool.
Of course, nothing is a guarantee with the new point system. Anything could happen. But based on, they've lost 4 in a row and they're still in the playoffs. If they get a win, they'll be in.
What a crazy win this would be. So I'm pulling for them.
Hazlitt will get to their game against Western coming up. You might ask, how did Hazlitt, a team that also doesn't have an outstanding record, beat Western? Well, Hazlitt has a Division I running back with 30 offers. Unfortunately suffered a season-ending injury in that game.
Oh, no.
So we will get to that at the very end. Manchester over Michigan Center, 46-35. 200 yards, 4 touchdowns for Walter Ahrens for the Dutch. Michigan Center will go to Homer for the crossover. And Center will play against former assistant coach for Center, Nick Cass, who's the head coach at Homer. And Manchester will go to Jonesville. If it rains, it will be a rethink of our game there. A muddy mess between Manchester and Jonesville. That's a gritty.
So wish we could do that game. I would love to do that game again. I know.
Or Saturday.
Yeah.
Jonesville over Homer, 70-8. Harper Griffith, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 interception on defense for Jonesville, and John Milks 3 scores. Jonesville, after starting the year struggling, because remember coming into the season we thought either them or Columbia will win the West. And then here comes Hanover all of a sudden. Obviously, Hanover's already won the West now, but Jonesville's won 4 games in a row now and turned their season around. And they're still hanging in the playoffs and need to win and get in. Northwest over Penfield. The Mounties are 3-5, 30-10. Penfield will take on Western this week. We will be there on JTV to end our regular season coverage. Hopefully not our last game, but we'll have more on that. If that's any sign for how this game will go this Friday. But a great win for Northwest over Penfield. You know, Northwest really isn't that far off from the 32nd spot in the playoffs in Division 3. Now, even if they win, I don't think they'll get in, but they're not too far off. Something crazy happens, they could finish 4-5 and be right there. Springport fell again to Bronson 28-14. Springport was up 14-7 at halftime, but Bronson scored 3 times in the second half and earned the victory. And now Springport finishes 3rd in the Big 8 after starting 6-0. And now they've lost to Union City and now Bronson. Lenawee Christian over Concord. Of course, watching the highlights here, thanks to JTV's Matt Kibbe. Big 8-man battle. Lenawee Christian, definitely a team to watch out for in the 8-man playoffs. Gavin Risky finished with 193 passing yards for Concord. They're now 3-5, and Concord will travel to Bellevue for its final game of the season on Friday. More highlights from this game online and on our Facebook at jtv.tv and JTV Sports on social media. Addison over Vandercook 44-7. Stockbridge got a win over Maple Valley 33-21. And our final game, Hazlitt 21, Western 18. Western quarterback Reed Myers, 152 yards, ran for 45 yards in the home loss. Hazlitt star running back Corey Amatri, I probably said his last name wrong, so I apologize, but he suffered a season-ending injury, the same injury as Aiden Hutchinson. Broken tibia and fibula. 4-star recruit and over 30 Division I offers, including Michigan State. So we hope he's well, and Hazlitt's a great team, and it's going to be a battle with Jackson on Friday. Jackson is going to give everything they have, and over these last 4 weeks of them losing, they got to give it all they got this week against Hazlitt. So that takes us into the playoff picture, looking at Division III. Jay High is still in at 4-4 right now. Their first round matchup is Bad News Bears for them right now, projections. But they're still in at 4-4. They need to win and get in this week against Hazlitt. Division 4, Western is still in, of course, without a doubt. They have too many points, even if they lose again this week, somehow to Penfield. But because they've lost again, though, at 5-3, they will likely not have a home playoff game, though. And they will have to go on the road to either Harper Creek or Hastings in the first or second round. Both those teams that beat Western this year. And the Cascades crossover matchup, 6th place. All games are Friday at 7, of course, except for the Saturday championship. But 6th place, E.J. Vandercook. Center Halber for 5th. Grass Lake at Addison. It's crazy to think Grass Lake, a team, how good they are, is 4th place in the East Division. Grass Lake Addison for 4th. Napoleon Columbia rematch for 3rd. 2nd place, Manchester Jonesville. By the way, both those teams are scoring a lot of points and playing really well right now. That is going to be an amazing game at Jonesville.
I was going to say, that sounds like a fun matchup.
I wish we were there. Can they move that one to Saturday too?
Yeah, please.
And then the Cascades Conference Championship. I'm going to have a hard time picking this one on Wednesday's show. Leslie or Hanover, Saturday at noon.
And that's gonna be a war. That's gonna be really good. I think that's really high level offense.
Packed house.
Oh
too.
yeah, and really
Packed.
high level offenses. So that's gonna be fun to see.
It'll be interesting. A more passing, spread, air raid, whatever you want to call them, type offense for Leslie, going up against a wing T in Hanover. But Hanover has the quarterback, though. They can throw the football if they have to. They don't, of course, wing T. But it'll be interesting to see how both teams line up against each other on the defensive side of the ball. To me, that's always, at any level of football, an interesting matchup. You get a full house team against a team that mostly passes the ball 30, 40 times a game. But we had some great games in the area. Great wins for Stockbridge and Northwest, a couple teams that have struggled this year picking up wins in Week 8. Western, tough loss. Looking at the scores, any other nuggets, anything that stood out to you?
I don't know if I have any nuggets. I don't have many nuggets, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lumen
Maybe
Christi,
I was just hungry. I don't know.
Lumen Christi did their thing. Grass Lake, that was the big surprise, like you were talking about. I was very pleasantly surprised that they did well. Stinks about Jackson, but still in it. It's going to be a tough game, but they're still in it, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, Marine City kind of did their thing, and Jonesville Homer was exactly what I thought that was going to be. But yeah, no, I thought good week though. There were some really good games out there to have been watched. So
the rest of the playoff picture here, Division 6, of course, Lumen is obviously in. They are number 2 in the state still. The only other team ahead of them, Almont, at 8-0, and they only have 2 or 3 more playoff points than Lumen does. And I was looking at Almont's schedule and some of their highlights. They have been absolutely beating down on people.
really,
So those two are on opposite sides of the bracket, or will be. If they face at Ford Field, just saying, that will be I'm calling it now. That would be an all-time game.
wow. I hope you're right.
Grass Lake, though, they need to win and get in at Addison. And Division 8, Addison needs to win and get in because they are a 4 seed in their region. So both teams are win or go home. We talked about going to Manchester, Jonesville. I'd like to go to Addison and watch that game.
Yeah.
Because both teams need to win and get in. Whichever one loses is 90% likely done.
Right.
So,
Right.
and in Division 7, of course, Hanover's in. Guaranteed they will host first round, at least first round. Jonesville needs to win and get in. Leslie's in and Napoleon's in. Springport and Manchester are both in Division 8 as well. So, really good games. And Week 9 will be just as important as the last couple weeks have been for those same local teams. So, also coming up in today's show, girls golf state finals happened. Boys soccer playoffs. We'll get to Jackson Christian soccer. They won their first district championship this last Thursday night. Myself, Noah Baker, and Jeff Steers were there covering that game. And we'll bring you highlights at the end of the show from that. So boys soccer playoffs, girls golf, boys tennis finals, college soccer, college football. We just have a lot to get to, so we'll get into all of that when we come back. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Lot of exciting high school football. Of course, time to get to our top plays of the week. Presented by Pataki Orthodontics. A great smile is always in style at Pataki Orthodontics. Grass Lake, Hillsdale, and Coldwater. Ready to get to it? Our top 5 plays of the week.
Let's do it.
At number 5, Lumen's first touchdown, 1 of 3 by the fullback, number 22, Isaac Rayberg. Of course, when you look at a big picture of Lumen Christi, the first player that always comes to mind right now is, of course, Cadale Williams, and in the quarterback second. But nobody thinks, expects 3 touchdowns from Isaac Rayberg. Because I'll be honest, I didn't expect that either. Or, catches from Cash Callahar or J.J. Brown or any of their other pieces. But all of them is what makes Lumen Christi such a dominant team. It's not just Cadale Williams. Obviously, he's, the star of the show.
I was going to say it helps.
It helps, yeah, when he's going to Central.
Yeah.
But Isaac Rayberg opens the first touchdown here to make it 7-0, 4:40 left in the first quarter. A pass from Crowley to Isaac Rayberg at number 5. At number 4, Lumen Christi, late in the fourth quarter, pretty much shut the door on any comeback by Gaylord. Their defense stepping up and making another play. Big hit, too, on this one. Lumen Christi, although it was close in the first half, like I mentioned earlier, they are the kings of second half adjustments and come out and get the job done. So that's at number 4. At number 3, Gaylord, completely blown coverage on the defense by Lumen Christi. Gaylord able to take advantage of that. 4th and 4 in the third quarter. Gaylord picks up a 4th down on a little short soft pass, and 2 plays later, inside the 5-yard line, makes it 22-20. Lumen only up by 2. And again, back to earlier, Gaylord's 2-5, now 2-6. But we see some of the pieces there that they have on their team. They have exceptional players, and they did make some great plays this game.
I mean, you made it interesting against Lumen Christi for quite a little bit of time. So yeah, I'm very impressed.
So that's at number 3. At number 2, Cadale Williams, one of his 2 touchdown runs. May or may not see the other one here in a minute, but at number 2, Cadale tiptoes and stays in bounds. Pat O'Dowd was shaking his head in disbelief the whole time on this play. Tiptoeing in, 7:14 left in the third quarter. Lumen Christi extends their lead on that play. And our number 1 play, this is where Lumen Christi started to pull away a little bit, and there was still a lot of time, and Gaylord was only down by 9, but this was also a clock management game, too. Both teams, when they had the ball, took up a little bit of time each. So Cadale Williams here, very first play of the fourth quarter, 21-yard touchdown run, 29-20, Lumen Christi. There were probably a couple of other plays I could have put in there, too, because there were some good plays from both teams. But those are our top 5 plays of the week from Pataki Orthodontics. A great smile, as always, in style of Pataki Orthodontics. When we come back, high school girls golf state finals, boys soccer, boys tennis, and college football. Stay tuned. Welcome back here on JTV. I am David Rice. It is Adam, thanks to the Insurance Circle Agency, and Pataki Orthodontics right up there too. So thank you to Pataki for our top plays of the week. Girls high school golf state finals happened Friday and Saturday. Division 3. Of course, you can check out photo galleries from both Division 3 and 4. We had local teams and players online at jtv.tv. Division 3, individual golfer Kaya Brunel from Western finished tied for 40th. Shot a 93 on both Friday and Saturday. In Division 4 at Forest Acres, MSU, it was a really cool shot. I don't remember which photographer of ours, probably should have done my research before the show, but shot this gallery. But there was a really cool shot where they're standing behind the golfer, and it's got the MSU logo on the hill going up the fairway. Like,
oh, that's cool.
As a flower or grass, whatever, and it's out as the MSU logo, and the golfers
that's cool.
shooting that way. But Columbia Central tied of course, as the team result, tied for second at the state finals. So an unbelievable season for Columbia Central. Congratulations to the Eagles. Columbia finished with a two-day total of 748 as a team. Concord 15th, EJ 16th, and Lumen 17th. Logan Bentley individually finished second for the third straight season with a total of 149. Anna McCubbins from Napoleon, second straight top 10 medal, 166 both days. So photos from golf online at jtv.tv. Boys soccer playoffs. We'll have the highlights for Jackson Christian coming up at the end of the show, right before we say our goodbyes. If you haven't checked them out already at jtv.tv. But Jackson Christian, this last Thursday, myself, Noah Baker, Jeff Steers were all there, and we got to watch Jackson Christian win their first district championship trophy since 2011. Mercy Rule 8-0 over Ann Arbor.
Wow.
Yeah, Central Academy.
Were they the favorites going in?
To the regional?
To the game? Like, were they the favorites?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, of course, it's good for that school and for that program because, as you know, of course, Jackson Christian doesn't have super great basketball teams, and they don't have football. So soccer is like their sport.
Yeah.
So all the students and everybody were there.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it was awesome there at Jackson Christian. And talking to Coach Barney after the game, he said, look, you know, my son started on the team, or there were a couple kids that were on the team varsity as 8th graders. And just a few years ago, this program was really struggling. And now, fast forward a few years later, and they have a new trophy in the case. Again, in the hallways. So, 8-0 over Ann Arbor Central Academy. They will play at Royal Oak Shrine Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. This morning, Monday morning in Midland, Lumen, their boys tennis competed in the state finals. So we'll have results from that on Wednesday's show. And over the weekend, both Spring Arbor men's and women's soccer picked up wins versus Taylor. College football Friday night, I watched the end of this when I got back home from Lumen Christi. BYU, number 13, I forget where they're ranked at now, but going into the game, they were 13. They survived late over underranked Oklahoma State, 38-35. That was an unbelievable game. Georgia, Texas, two heavyweights, an all-time clash, 30-15. Georgia, even beer made it onto the field. Were you watching at that part?
No, I didn't see. What happened?
So there was a play. At first, they called it pass interference, and it was a bad call because it wasn't pass interference. Later, after the beer was already thrown onto the field, they discussed it and said, no, it wasn't a pass interference. A little late to make that call by then.
Oh.
But Georgia had the ball. They threw it, and the defender had his back turned towards, away from the receiver's face towards him, but turned around, picked it off, took it back, called a PI. Fans are pissed. They throw water and beer on the field. Even Coach Sarkeesian, went out on the field towards the student section, was like, hey, quit.
Wow.
But then, right before they snapped the next play, they stopped, they whistled. They reviewed it, they discussed it. No pass interference.
Oh, my God.
So Kirby Smart is livid.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're getting ready to start the next play.
Right.
Should have already been done with, over, end of discussion.
And how much time there must have been in between if it was enough for Texas's head coach to go out into the field and start yelling at the kids? That had to have been a long time to get them to stop that. So
It was. But a great win, much needed for Georgia after their loss to Alabama.
Yeah, they're now favorites for the national championship, favorites for the SEC. So yeah, they're right back in it.
Going into that this last week, because you kept your hopes high in Georgia.
I did.
You said they were going to still win the SEC.
Yeah.
And I still thought you were crazy until now.
Yeah, right. I mean, they looked, that first half specifically, they looked like that Georgia team that we expected them to be all year.
Right.
And last second, when I was looking at who Texas had faced, I really wasn't super impressed by their competition compared to already who Georgia has had to go up against. But I don't think it's done for. I know Georgia has Tennessee coming up. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I was going to say Georgia Tennessee will be really like
that's a big game. That's pretty much to figure out who's on the top of the SEC.
Right, considering that Tennessee, switching gears here, stunned Alabama and gave the Tide their second loss, 24-17, on a pick late to secure it. What a win for the Vols. 2 of the last 3 years now, Alabama has gone to Tennessee
so crazy.
And lost at the end.
That's so crazy. It tells you Tennessee football is back. I think that's what that tells you.
I wonder what happened to this year's goalpost. I didn't hear anything about it.
Hopefully they got it out of their system last year.
Illinois over Michigan. Basically, my takeaway, Michigan is garbage. Sharon Moore said they're going to reevaluate the quarterback job again this week. Who else do they have? Who else do they have?
Oh, man, be careful.
I know. Well, they don't have anybody else. Tuttle, who's been playing awful. Orgy, who can't pass, and he can only run for 2 yards at a time. Or Warren, who throws 5 picks a game. We haven't even played Jaden Davis yet. Do we go to Jaden Davis?
Man, this is a terrible situation. I kind of knew this is how this season was going to go. I wasn't super optimistic.
Oh, I did too. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm still not as the same amount of disappointment.
Right, of course.
But coming up, we have Michigan State this week.
Ooh.
Then after that, we play number 1 Oregon.
Oh, boy.
And we still play Penn State.
Well, at least we got Michigan State. At least
Well,
we're gonna
Michigan
beat them.
State beat Iowa.
Yeah,
they handled Iowa.
I think we got them. That I would be disappointed if we lose. That game I would.
You know, I might have to pick against Michigan this week.
What? Go ahead. Go ahead and do it then. I need to
we'll
make up
wait
some
till
ground.
Wednesday.
Okay, I need to make up some
We'll
ground.
wait till Wednesday. I know you need to make. Well, I don't know the updated standings.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But by the way, to wrap up college football, both Army and Navy are still undefeated and ranked.
Good for them. That's cool to see.
And in NFL, the Lions, Jake Bates at Minnesota. What a game. What a game. I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of the Lions game because the Packers game was close. And they ended up winning on a kick at the end. We just picked up McManus this week, and he did a Lambeau leap already and won the game for Green Bay. That's a good Houston team, too.
It is.
And that's a good Viking. Obviously, it's a good Vikings team. They were one of only 2 remaining undefeated teams. Bengals over the Browns. Deshaun Watson got booed as he got put on
That's
the card.
so sad.
Did you see the video of that?
Yeah, Achilles injury, it looks like. But yeah, that's very sad. That's very sad.
You deserve it. That's what they were.
That's so messed up.
And then famous Jameis in the locker room after that, his presser. He's, they asked him about, the booing, and then you come in and the team doesn't do much better. And he's like, I ain't worried about the game right now, man. Listen, he's hurt. We're pulling for him.
Oh, there you go. I love Jameis Winston, though. I love that guy.
He's still going to be eating his W's
Oh, gosh.
into the top 5 pick. The Chiefs over the 49ers. That was a great game. Patrick Mahomes, he's running now.
Yeah, he
balling. Ran for a touchdown. He ran for that 33-yard one, and then he just lowered his head and just hit stick the dude going into the end zone.
I think it was a good game plan against San Francisco because they've faced them in so many big games recently where he hasn't ran a bunch. So the fact then you bust that out now, it's just crazy.
And the Niners are pretty much out of options on how to beat them too, because they can't run the ball against Kansas City. We know how that went last time they played. Clearly, they didn't pass the ball well against them either. And Brandon Ayuk has torn ACL, so another injury for the Niners too.
San Fran, not
they
looking
just can't
good.
catch a break.
Yeah, not looking good right now.
And Justin Fields, now the backup, Russell Wilson comes in Sunday night scores 37 points. The Steelers win. They're a good team, but they never score 37 points, and they beat the Jets.
That's wild.
Great performance by Pittsburgh.
And a sad performance for the Jets. Again.
Rodgers was asked after the game, now you're 2-5. Basically, why is this happening? And you know what his answer was? He is just complaining about everything else. He is not accepting the fact that they're not playing well. I just saw this before we came on the air. He was looking at a reporter and he said, you guys are why we're 2-5. He blamed the media for it.
Oh, no.
He said, if you guys would get out of the locker room, all this talk in the news, every week now, the Jets are 2-4, the Jets are 2-5, is creating a distraction for our guys.
Ugh.
Quit blaming it on the media. They're not playing well. They haven't been passing the ball. Rodgers really hasn't looked good, and they haven't been running the ball either. They just are not good.
I think I have 1 week left, and then I'm officially out. I think I have one more week.
You have one more week of hope for the Jets?
I think I do.
I lost it last week.
I know I should have, but it's just like I'll give them 1 more week to figure it out. But if we get to that point, dude, it's over.
When we come back, we will show you soccer highlights from Thursday. Jackson Christian getting a district championship, and we'll quickly look ahead to our Week 9 broadcast at Western High School. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Thank you to the Insurance Circle agency where we'll know your name. Before we get to Penfield Western Friday, of course, earlier mentioned Jackson Christian getting a soccer district championship. They took on Ann Arbor Central Academy this last Thursday, thanks to JTV's Noah Baker. And here are a few highlights from that game. You can check out more and photos from that and my story online at jtv.tv. Let's check it out. So thanks to Noah Baker for getting those highlights. That was fun being at Jackson Christian on Thursday. I don't get to go out there very often, so
Yeah, that's cool that you got to go there.
And they don't get that much coverage.
Right, and a good win for them as well. Very good.
It was. That's their sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, real quick before we go, week 9 of high school football. The season's already flown by, and we're already at week 9 of football.
It's almost over.
I know Battle Creek Penfield, who just fell to Western last week, coming to Parma to take on Western. We will be there 6:45 on Friday. Pat O'Dowd, Dan Gallagher, Max Fritz, and TBD. So, I'll be there,
TBD.
maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
not.
Okay, all right.
But otherwise, we will have coverage from and video highlights and live updates and scores throughout the broadcast from the Cascades crossover games and other matchups happening in the area. So we'll be doing a lot of score updates Friday throughout that game. It's the last week for a lot of these teams, too, so do or die.
Yep.
So thanks to Minuteman Sewer and Drain for another football night in Jackson coming up on Friday, live from the metropolis of Parma, Michigan. So that's Adam. I'm David Rice. Thanks to Pataki and the Insurance Circle Agency. And go Pack, go Lions. I would not say go Blue, but we will talk to you on Wednesday.